Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Missy Partika. I'm with the Mississippi-Alabama Sea Grant Consortium in Auburn University. I'm a member of the Oil Spill Science Outreach Team. If you are joining us today, we are here for the third and final installment of the Human Health in Oil Spill Impacts series. This particular one, the third section, is focused on the impacts of dispersants. So if that's what you thought you were going to, you are in the right place. To begin with, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the background of my team, who we're funded through, what our missions are, and how we are delivering this content to you. So I'm funded through the Gulf of Mexico Research Initiative, or GOMRI, as it's called. And GOMRI was founded shortly after the beginning of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill through a $500 million non-penalty endowment from British Petroleum. Now, that endowment is dedicated to researching the impacts of the oil spill, but is independent of British Petroleum. After that endowment was established, BP walked away and had no further involvement at all with the endowment, and it is governed by an independent research board with representation from every Gulf state. While the initial research efforts really focused on rapid response in the immediate aftermath of the spill, subsequent years have moved more towards improving our modeling ability, looking at long-term forecasting, and understanding recovery trajectories for the impacted ecosystems and communities. Other emphasis has also been placed on spill prevention, something I know a lot of our communities care very much about. An additional aspect has really been improving those partnerships and lines of communication between different agencies and research institutes. That helps us get ready for future spills and disaster and improving our ability to respond as researchers and scientists in the future. GOMRI is now in its 10th and final year. That was established from the very beginning that it was going to be a 10-year endowment, but that doesn't mean that GOMRI and all of this research ends there. All of this research will continue to be publicly available and accessible for a long time to come. However, right in the beginning of the foundation of GOMRI, it was unclear how communities, how non-scientists might access some of this information, how they would learn about all of the great science that was being conducted and what some of those results were. So to that end, in 2014, GOMRI expanded its programmatic reach by partnering with the Sea Grant programs who've been serving coastal communities for over 50 years. For those of you that aren't familiar, Sea Grant is part of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Yep, those are the same folks that are modeling the hurricanes we're all watching in the Gulf right now. And much like land grant institutions, Sea Grant programs are university-based throughout the US, everywhere there's a coast, including all of the Great Lakes and one pretty good one. We receive both federal and state funds with an emphasis on research, education, and extension. We are a science-based program that practice non-advocacy. So for those of you that aren't familiar, non-advocacy means that we do not use our relationships with any of our stakeholders or partners to promote a particular viewpoint or agenda, but rather serve as neutral brokers of peer-reviewed science and government reporting. As I said, I'm a member of a broader team that is spread throughout the Gulf of Mexico, the Oil Spill Science Outreach Team. I am based in Mobile, Alabama with Mississippi-Alabama Sea Grant Consortium. Monica Wilson is our partner in Florida with Florida Sea Grant in St. Petersburg. Emily Mung Douglas is in Louisiana with Louisiana Sea Grant in Baton Rouge at LSU. And we're thinking about her family, and all of our colleagues and community members in Louisiana today. Danny Bailey is based in Corpus Christi with Texas Sea Grant, Texas A&M. And Tara Skelton, who's helping to run the webinar today, thank you, Tara. She and our team manager, Steve Sempier, are both with Mississippi-Alabama Sea Grant Consortium and based in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Our team focuses on interacting with very specific target audiences, and those are ones that rely on a healthy Gulf to work, live, or play. These stakeholders can be roughly broken into two groups: those that need technical information for on-the-job decision-making, and those that depend on a clean and healthy Gulf for either their living or well-being, but are often left out of the flow of information. So how do we do that? There's a lot of research out there, and I'm a science nerd. A lot of us are science nerds on the team, and maybe some of you are too, and there's a lot of literature that's available out there. And we've spent entire careers combing our way through it and trying to find the best available science. However, on our team, we want to specifically focus on those questions that are most important to our stakeholders. So we hold input sessions. We gather information from our different stakeholder groups. We solicit questions and receive feedback after some of our seminars and webinars. We ask for your opinion about how we're doing and how well we're answering some of these questions. So full disclosure, you will be receiving a link to an evaluation after this webinar. Consider yourself forewarned. But we really do use that information to improve our programs and get a better understanding of how we can better serve your needs. So we take all of that input and use that to guide our dive into this literature and government reporting with a focused effort of answering those specific questions. And from there, we create a variety of products, whether it's actual written bulletins and fact sheets, holding different webinars, seminars like those you're attending right now, and doing additional input sessions. And then we loop it all the way back around again and keep feeding back into that system in order to continue to improve our products and services. To date, after 6 years, we've created over 30 bulletins and fact sheets, many of which have been translated into additional languages. We've hosted over 60 seminars, including the webinar series that you're participating in. We've also created some different animated videos, little short videos that those have turned out really great, cartoon videos. We have communication tips to researchers to help them actually communicate their science more effectively with the lay public. We've got different reports from different workshops and seminar series that we've conducted. Along with that, we've got all of the recordings for all of the seminars, workshops, and webinars available on our website, including the one that you're participating in today. So I highly recommend you go to our website after the webinar today and check out some of our products that we have available if you're not already familiar. So for today's program, we have a diverse and very interesting group of scientists all dedicated to this particular topic, the use of dispersants during oil spills. We have 3 speakers. To begin with, we have Tom Coolbaugh. He is currently with Applied Research Associates, and he's at the Omset Wave Tank in New Jersey, for those of you that are familiar. So Tom's going to be talking about his years of work on the use of dispersants during oil spill response. Richard Judson is with the US EPA, and he's at the Center for Computational Toxicology, and he's going to be talking to us about some of his work that was done at the EPA to determine toxicity levels of different dispersants prior to their use during oil spills. Melissa Finnegan, she's with the RAND Corporation and the director for the Consortium for Resilient Gulf Communities. And she's going to be sharing with us some of the human health impacts associated with the use of dispersants, including those mental health impacts and the importance of communicating risk. So before we begin, I have a couple of housekeeping items. As I said, if you have questions, please chat them in the chat box if you are on Zoom, or put them in the comments box. If you are currently on Facebook, my team and I are monitoring the chat box and the comments box for those questions, and I will be compiling them for the Q&A section at the end. Please do not be frustrated if your question of a non-technical nature doesn't get answered immediately. We are just trying to do it for everybody's benefit to answer them at the end. We're recording this webinar, so if you have to step away for a moment, or there's a screaming baby in the background that you need to attend to, or the mailman comes to the door, fear not, we are recording them and you can come back to them at a later time. This should be up in the next couple of days. If you're experiencing technical difficulties, however, and you do have a question about that, we will be monitoring the chats for those types of technical questions as well, and we will try to get your question answered as soon as possible. And thank you also for letting us know. We have ample time for Q&A at the end, but I'll follow up with any speakers to address any questions that maybe have to go unanswered out of the sake of time.